end quote. I want to show you just a brief video. It's about 30 seconds, and I'll ask you a couple questions about it.
You guys are disgusting, man. Hey, you guys are disgusting. I'm former law enforcement. You're disgusting. You are the Nazi. You are the Gestapo. You can't see it because you're chasing your pension, right? Your pension, your retirement, right? That's what runs your life, your retirement.
The sad thing is they're not even going to get their pension because it's going to be worthless.
And shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Yeah. Fuck that. Yeah.
Hello. Shocking hearing exposes DOJ hiring pardoned January 6th rioter yelling, "Kill him," at police and gutted enforcement teams. Why this shift in priorities?
Attorney General Bondi, that man works for you now, right?
Who was that, Congressman?
The man in that video, the one who was in the police-worn body cam footage, the one allegedly yelling, "Kill him," at police officers on January 6th, his name is Jared Wise.
He does work for us.
He works for you at the Department of Justice.
He does.
This is an individual whom a federal grand jury indicted for 2 felonies and 4 misdemeanors related to his participation in the attack on January 6th. One of those charges was forcibly assaulting, resisting, opposing, impeding, intimidating, and interfering with police with the intent to commit another felony. This is who you choose as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States of America to hire at the Department of Justice. Someone on video yelling, "Kill him," at police officers, right?
I believe he was pardoned by President Trump.
Oh, he was pardoned. You're right. You're right. Pardoned by President Trump for his offense. Pardoned for yelling, "Kill him," at police officers. And yet you expect hardworking police officers across the country to believe that you take law enforcement seriously. You could imagine the reaction of so many folks across the country hearing the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States refuse to even condemn what that individual whom you've now hired did. But in any event, let's talk a little bit about some of the other divisions within the Department of Justice and what's happened over the last year. You're familiar with the Public Integrity section of the DOJ's criminal division. I think it's referred to as PIN. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know which presidential administration under which the PIN was first created?
I can tell you what administration that the weaponization was ended under.
I'll reclaim my time. This wasn't a trick question.
You don't get to
Madam Attorney
reclaim
General.
your time.
Madam Attorney General.
Because I don't like
Mr. Chairman, will you explain to the witness that he does reclaim his time?
Because I don't answer a question to your satisfaction?
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Attorney General, the time belongs to the gentleman from Colorado.
The president under which PIN was created was Gerald Ford. It was created after Watergate.
Exactly.
I'm not asking a question, Madam Attorney General. The administration under which it was created was Gerald Ford. When you first started as the Attorney General of the United States, there were 35 people working in that office. There are now 2 people working in that office because you have gutted it. How many people work for the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team in the criminal division today?
Can I answer the question about PIN?
I've asked you a question. How many
You've
people
asked
work?
me a question, but you don't
How
want
many
the answer.
people work
I'm not
for the
gonna answer your
National
questions the way you
Cryptocurrency
want.
Enforcement Team? You won't answer how many
I'll
people?
answer PIN.
You.
PIN will not be
you know what?
weaponized.
You know what?
What's
Madam
funny
Attorney
about
General,
this?
I'll say to the chairman.
What's funny about this?
Chairman, you know what the answer is? And I think I
What's
understand
funny
why the
about
Attorney General
this?
does not want to answer the question. Because you eliminated the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team last year. So I understand why you don't want to tell the American people who works there.
Yeah, I
no one
understand
works
why
there
you don't want to
anymore,
talk about
Madam
Mohammed
Attorney
Solomon
General.
in
So
your district.
In any event,
who
I would
murdered
just,
people.
Mr. Chairman, will you stop the clock so his time is not wasted by the witness?
I've been very generous with allowing extra time when we have these little disputes.
I understand.
You got the time, Mr. Goose.
I might as well ask the chairman these questions.
I'd be happy
because
to answer
what
some
is
of your questions.
What's profound, the questions I've
Profound?
asked,
The crime in
questions
your
I've
district.
asked, Mr. Chairman, are not trick questions. They're not gotcha questions. They're actually basic questions about how the Department of Justice functions and the unwillingness of this Attorney General to answer them in good faith. When a member of Congress asks how many people work at the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team and the Attorney General refuses to answer it, it is not a coincidence. It's because she eliminated the team. Why? because her boss, the President of the United States, is making money hand over fist, $1.4 billion over the course of the last year through cryptocurrency holdings. I think what is happening at the Department of Justice is a disgrace, Mr. Chairman, and I would urge you to gain control of this hearing. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Yeah. I would ask the gentleman, does he agree with the standing up of the Deputy Attorney General for dealing with fraud? That's something that's happened in this administration. First time. You talked about Penn. That happened with this Justice Department.
We're talking about this committee.
Mr. Chairman, had you answered the question, had the Attorney General answered the question in that way, perhaps this hearing would have some modicum of resembling something that has typically been fairly conventional, an oversight hearing of the Department of Justice.
The gentleman's
That is
time
not
has expired. The gentlelady from Wyoming.
In a tense congressional oversight hearing, a Colorado congressman sharply questions Attorney General Pam Bondi regarding controversial decisions at the Department of Justice under the Trump administration. Central to the exchange is the hiring of Jared Weiss, a former law enforcement officer indicted for felonies related to January 6, including assaulting police. Video footage allegedly shows him yelling, "Kill him," at officers. Pardoned by President Trump, Weiss now works at DOJ. The congressman asks how police officers can trust the administration's commitment to law enforcement when such an individual is elevated to a key position. This move seems driven by political loyalty. The pardon and hiring send a message to supporters that January 6 participants are viewed as allies rather than threats to democracy. It reinforces narratives of political persecution. Why? To solidify the base and demonstrate that the administration protects its own. However, the outcome risks alienating dedicated law enforcement, eroding morale, and signaling that past actions against Capitol Police may be overlooked for political expediency. The opening quote, "If you come for law enforcement, the Trump administration will come for you," now rings hollow when the very department tasked with upholding the law brings in someone accused of inciting violence against officers. This contradiction fuels deep skepticism. Was the pardon an act of mercy correcting perceived overreach, or a calculated reward for loyalty during the chaotic events of that day? The discussion then turns to the Public Integrity Section, known as PIN, of the DOJ Criminal Division. Created under Gerald Ford after Watergate to combat public corruption, it once operated with robust staffing. Under Bondi, it has been reduced from 35 people to just 2. This drastic cutback indicates a deliberate de-emphasis on investigating governmental misconduct. Reasons likely include minimizing oversight that could target administration figures or allies. By weakening this unit, the DOJ potentially shields itself from internal probes, leading to less accountability and heightened risks of unchecked power. Citizens watching this unfold cannot help but wonder, if the very section designed to root out corruption is starved of resources, who will hold the powerful accountable? The administration may frame these cuts as ending weaponization of justice, yet the result appears to be selective enforcement that favors one political side while leaving the public integrity apparatus toothless. Additionally, the congressman highlights the elimination of the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team. Bondi avoids answering direct staffing questions, suggesting the team was quietly disbanded last year. This coincides precisely with President Trump's reported $1.4 billion gains from cryptocurrency holdings. Dismantling the unit may serve to avoid enforcement actions that could impact crypto markets or the president's personal financial interests. Such a potential conflict of interest, if accurate, strikes at the heart of impartial justice. It raises urgent questions. Are law enforcement priorities being reshaped not by public safety needs, but by private financial benefits? The refusal to provide straightforward answers during an oversight hearing only deepens the perception of opacity and evasion. These actions collectively reflect a broader strategy that the administration calls de-weaponizing the DOJ. From their perspective, previous years saw politically motivated prosecutions that unfairly targeted conservatives. Hiring pardoned individuals and streamlining divisions therefore become corrective measures to restore balance. Yet the opposition views them as institutional sabotage, eroding the very safeguards that protect democratic norms. The consequences are already visible: declining public trust in the Department of Justice, further politicization of federal law enforcement, and potential long-term damage to recruitment and retention within police ranks nationwide. Hardworking officers who risked their lives on January 6 now see their former adversaries welcomed into the halls of power, while critical oversight bodies are hollowed out. If this video gave you a new perspective, then you're in the right place. Here, we don't just talk about the headlines, we break down the real analysis behind them. Because understanding a country's political processes is the responsibility of every citizen. Remember, justice exists only as long as the people stand for it. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more. See you in the next video.